We're going to talk again in 6 weeks. Let's walk down that path. Let's fast forward 2 months from now. If H40 was successful for you, what happened?
What does it look like? I think more than anything, for me, I need the routine. Like, I don't necessarily have a picture of, oh, I'm going to weigh this amount, or, oh, I'm going to be that. I just need the routine, because once I have a routine, I can keep it up.
So really excited to be chatting with you today, Molly Wooster. So we talked a few months ago before your first 6-week health sprint, before you did H40. I want to sort of dig right in and go back to your expectations, even go back. You remember the conversation we had a few months ago?
Of course, yeah.
What was your mental state? Like, were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you unsure of what the next 40 days, 6 weeks was what was going to happen?
Absolutely.
Like, how
all
were you?
Of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely was nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting interviewed. So, as a way of doing it, it was kind of like the push.
It was a commitment.
Yes. And so I was absolutely nervous about adding one more thing, and everyone's like, oh, it's just so easy. When you try to do other stuff, just add, and then add this and then add that. But the way your program worked was you had a whole week to get used to adding one more thing.
Yeah.
And when you did it, you're like, oh, okay, you know what? That wasn't that bad. I can do the next step. It wasn't like, the 6 things, you could have tried to throw it all at us at one time, but instead it was, you kind of got to figure it out slowly. And it makes it easier to put it as part of your life as opposed to make it be, well, I just have to do this for 6 weeks. Or,
It's hard enough to build a new habit. And I think the way that we built Freedomology, it was created around our natural instincts, like what we will and won't do. And so that's why we spread the 6 key concepts or principles throughout the 6 weeks. So it's like morning routine. It'd be easier for me to give you my morning routine, to give you my dietary approach, to give you, my thoughts on movement, strength training. But I think, just like you said, giving that all to you at one time would not allow you to really absorb that into your rhythm of living. And I think that's been the key. That's why so many people are having success with H40 who've tried other programs in the past. Now, you have your committed shirt on, which I love for sure. You got that at the end of the sprint, which is incredible. You gave us a really good written testimonial, which sort of supported not only the way we taught these principles, but also sort of these concepts from like a biological perspective. Why don't you give everybody an idea of your background, your husband's background? Did he get involved in the first sprint? Is he like, how has your relationship with him changed or evolved? Because a lot of times people who are married, if they do something like this by themselves, it's like, hey, is this going to change the way that our marriage works? Because am I going to be eating something different than my husband? How did you approach that whole thing? Right.
And the kids too. That's the food I was worried about. Like, oh my gosh, what if I get complaints? Because I'm such a people pleaser in the first place, right? But no, it worked because Ricky has his PhD in biochemistry and my master's degree is in biology. And I really was impressed with both of us especially the biohacking one. I made Ricky watch it with me and we were both very impressed about how much research and how much that you had done. Because, if I'm correct, you're in business and finance and stuff like that. It's not like you're like, oh, hey, the methyl group on the, you know what I mean? It's not like that's your common vernacular or anything like that. And so I really liked how much you guys committed and went into it, but it wasn't just like, here's the science. It was also, here's how the science worked for me.
Yeah.
And so in terms of my family, in terms of, us working on it together, we have absolutely been looking more and more into the biohacking. The biohacking is that's a deep rabbit hole that you could, kind of get into.
You could spend as much time as you want.
Right. And so it's been kind of nice following, your footsteps because you're like, I tried this. I didn't like this. I tried, and I really like the measurements, the data driven as opposed to it just being feeling driven, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, if I take 6 supplements, you may or may not take the same 6, right? Your body is different on the inside as it is on the outside. And I think biohacking gives us that opportunity to look at our body from the inside out, and not just how we look, but how we feel, how we're waking up in the morning, and how we feel in the afternoon, how we're sleeping.
Adam, to me, I need to work on it not being a checklist. I need to look at it more as an opportunity for myself.
Yeah.
And start the day that way.
You don't have to do it. You get to do it.
Yes.
How did you change your morning routine? Did you adopt everything we said, like religiously? And what rhythm have you developed today?
Well, okay, I will be 100% honest that the water was tough to get used to in the beginning. So that was tough. And what was difficult about it, and then plus adding more and more water to your day
to throughout the day. Yep.
But your body gets used to it after a while, but at the very beginning, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the bathroom all the time. You know what I mean? Trying to get used to that. Right. The activate does not have to be, it can be calf raises. Do you know what I mean? It can be a stretch. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be jumping jacks.
Or push-ups.
Or push-ups.
Josh Shabazz, you don't have to rip off 30, 40, 50 push-ups. I think that's the key. When we say activate, so Adam, activate, drink, appreciate, meditate. Mm-hmm. When we say activate, we just mean you roll out of bed and you activate the body in some way. It could be seeing sunlight, but you own a farm, so sometimes you're probably up before the sun rises. So for you, it's probably that physical activation,
right?
10 air squats or just like you said, calf raises. It's as easy as that.
And and then the meditate, I was already a meditator, I try to, have that as part of my,
your routine.
Routine, right. Yeah. But the thing that I like is adding the gratitude first thing in the morning. And that makes a difference with how your overall day goes because, there's lots of times before your alarm goes off and you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But instead of going straight to, I don't want to do this, you are like, oh my gosh, I woke up. This is amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You get to do it.
Yeah, I get to do it.
You don't have to do it. You get to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because,
Huge
there's
difference.
a lot of people that don't get to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and so starting that, it's the slightest change in mindset, but it sets the tone for everything else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And okay, let's move to week 2, eating for energy. So then are you open to committing to changing the way that you're eating?
Absolutely. 100%. Because, we, raise a lot of the animals that we eat and things like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm eating healthy. And I'm like, oh, we don't do a whole lot of processed foods and everything. But I feel like we are bombarded left and right with, okay, low fat, low carb, low this, low that, low that. And I'm like, okay, this needs to be something that we can actually do.
Yeah. I think most of us eat far too much processed food, junk food, fast food. So we gain weight slowly over the years.
And you don't notice.
Yeah, you don't notice it. And one day you look in the mirror and you might compare yourself, how you look today to a picture from 10 years ago. And you're like, wow, I'm heavier. I'm a lot heavier. I'm not 10 pounds. I'm 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds heavier. How did you approach, did you try carb fasting? Did you dig into how the body processes carbs? Did you understand what we were communicating with the glycogen reserves in the liver?
Right. And I loved all that, and because again, just how my brain works, having the scientific process behind it and, and the theory behind it. I really liked that. And I was really anxious. I remember contacting you guys. I'm like, what do I eat? I really didn't know what to eat that didn't involve carbohydrates. I really didn't. But I will tell you that everything bagel seasoning is my friend. It's, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, it really does make everything taste better, and lots more salads, lots more things like that. And I don't feel like I'm missing out. To be honest, when I have my carb-free days, the days that I do eat carbs, I almost feel like more lethargic, heavier. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Everything.
Especially if you overdo it. A lot of people will just go back to old routines on non-carb fasting days. I call them regular days. So we call them carb fasting days and just regular days. I've noticed my regular days have gotten healthier over the past, 12 to 18 months. I was just eating the same way I used to be eating and probably too much pizza, too many cheeseburgers. And it just, like when you're aware of how you feel, how your body's processing that, and you realize that really food is in your mouth for 17 minutes a day.
That was the
it's not, it's not, I mean, we're not actually enjoying food for hours each day. So like giving up a few minutes a day of that pleasure to have a lot more health on the back end is worth it. It's worth it just to be healthier on non-carb fasting days. How much weight did you lose? Like what were your results during the sprint?
Well, I started at 175 and I'm down to 153. So
22 pounds.
Yeah, that was I mean,
that's a big jump.
It was a big jump, and it wasn't because
it's 12% of your body weight. Yeah,
and it was not because I was really trying. If that makes, you know what I mean. It wasn't like on the. Let me think how to say. What I was air quotes missing out on wasn't constantly on my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the key. That's the key is we don't tell you not to eat things, because if we tell you not to eat things, you're going to want those things more. I had this great conversation with a nutritionist and dietitian recently, and her approach is it parallels our approach in that she doesn't give people a meal plan. She doesn't give people like 5-day, 7-day, 14-day meal plan, tell them this is what you have to eat. Some people want that. That's not a recipe for long-term success, because when you're told exactly what to do, you might do it in the short term. You're definitely not going to do it long-term. So this is like, or again, the way we design H40 is it's built around this loose framework theory where you get to develop a rhythm for your life because yours is different than mine. So there's core principles that absolutely make sense, backed up by science. We teach those. I mean, did you know how the body processes carbs before H40? Like it's something that it's something where it's like, it's this idea we sort of know, but I mean, like the body has a fat switch, right? It's in the liver. The liver dictates whether or not your body's going to store or burn fat for fuel. And I think that's like a light bulb moment for a lot of people. So once we teach you that, then it makes eating healthier or eating carb-free a few days a week, like low carbs, it just makes it easier.
Yeah. And for me, it honestly is easiest to do that, like, you know, either Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Thursday, because I mean, I will say that you don't realize how much our social life is really around food.
Right. It's easier for most people to be disciplined Monday through Thursday. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think if you're going to approach or try carb fasting, those 4 days, you know, we do it 2 to 3 days a week. We were doing it 3 days a week. I've lost 20 pounds over the past year. And so for us, it's really 2.5 days a week. Now, Mondays, Wednesdays, a little bit of Tuesdays or a little bit of Thursdays. But yeah, you're right. And then the weekends, you don't feel that guilty for actually enjoying if you go out for a steak, for eating a salad, eating an appetizer, having a roll before your meal. Even the concept of wrapping your carbs, like where you know you eat something protein-based, fat-based before you eat the roll, like you eat your salad before the roll. That really helps reduce the blood sugar spike, and again, it's helping the body just process those carbs efficiently versus this massive spike, and then storing everything else as fat. Yeah,
and honestly, for me, I mean, I've been tested for gluten intolerance, but, you know, it never came back. But I definitely think I have a sensitivity to it because when I am not eating it, I don't have, like you said before, I don't have the inflammation. I don't get the headaches. I don't get the, you know, all of those different things. I am working on the maturity to be able to say that, okay, I'm willing to give up, you know, rolls to not have a headache, but okay.
Right. But it can be challenging, but you've still lost 20 plus pounds too. So that's
and we got, you know,
it's impressive.
And I'm seriously, it was not because, I mean, in terms of the movement thing, that was
let's move on to movement. And there's a science behind how muscle is grown in the body, and protein has a ton to do with it, and then moving weight or moving, like you said, you work on a farm, your weight training could be moving bales of hay, because you own a farm. So you're always outside and you're always working. And so you're probably getting a lot of steps in each day, no matter what. So how did you incorporate? Did you incorporate any strength training or?
That is definitely what I want to incorporate more on the, you know, because if I'm correct, I'm hoping you guys are going to do.
We're doing another one for sure.
But like also one that we can kind of make the financial commitment to it as well. I think that you had mentioned something about that. And so you guys were great about kind of giving some suggestions and about like, yes, strength training would be great, but see if you could work it into what you're doing. So for example, like, so when I'm doing a stall or something like that, maybe I'll do a heavier shovel load than what, what I would do before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When, carrying my bales of hay, which are 50 pounds, you know what I mean? Maybe before I set it, I do, a couple of, and so I know that I kind of sound like, Rocky, in the meat locker.
doing that natural workouts.
But like, because for me, because, having the kids and having the business and having the farm, the idea of, oh my gosh, I got to find time to get to a gym and to do all this. Now that I know that I feel better when I add this stuff in, I'm ready to make that next step and figure out how to add it in. And it will be easier when, school's going on because I can, everybody,
you can find the rhythm a little.
Right. A little bit easier because,
for sure.
I kind of have more of a schedule when the kids are at school. I can move stuff around.
Yeah, or we could develop a Super 7 workout for farmers, right? Like
that'd be great.
Hay bales over your head and
oh my gosh, if I could do a hay bale over my head,
right.
Don't tell my kids that because whenever I don't feel like lifting anything heavy, I'm like,
I need some help, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you approach? We talked about the biohacking. How did you approach, environment and rest? Health is important. You've committed to getting healthier, right? You moved from interest to commitment. What's out there? Anything in the back of your head is that's going to be the thing that prevents me from reaching my goals, or no?
I think more than anything is I just have to learn how to be okay with putting myself first. Yeah. Because as long as I'm doing something, be it making the lunches for the kids, vacuuming you know what I mean? If I'm doing something, then that's almost like an excuse as to why I didn't do something for myself.
Were you a good sleeper before age 40? Like, do you have an issue with sleeping at all? You think you were getting good sleep? I
think that for me, before age 40, getting my brain to turn off, and I didn't realize how much of like almost like doom scrolling, like it was almost like my pacifier, you know what I mean? Yeah. At night, like because I love reading, but if I read a book, I will fall asleep in a minute, which isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing?
That's exactly what you should be doing, right?
Right. But then the other thing that I liked about environment and the whole rest thing was that rest isn't just sleep. Mm-hmm. Rest is downtime. Rest is, and that's hard. Like, I mean, that's hard for me. It's hard for me to sit still and not think, I should be doing this. I should be doing, you know what I mean? Yeah. I should be doing all those different things.
So now as you're learning about what H40 is all about and how we've built this framework around health, like holistic health, meaning mental health at the foundation, at the base. We have physical health, which is what most people think of when they think about health. And then we have environmental health. I know we haven't talked too much about environmental health yet, but I'm super excited to share those ideas with you because when we optimize our environment, like if you think about it, we're always somewhere. You're always at your farm. You're always in an environment. So if you can optimize these environments to be mentally, to help improve our mental and physical strength and health, then that's half the battle.
And so we have a hammock garden that my husband built for me.
Now, what is that?
It's so fun.
Sounds cool.
Because out by our pond, he put up a bunch of posts, and then we have I think there's 5 or 6 posts, and then we have millions of hammocks hanging from it, Okay. And so literally you can have, 10, 15 people out there at a time on the different hammocks, because, they're connected this way, and all of that stuff. And I have found that I'll go out there way more often, with a book or whatever. Yeah. Just and not my phone and not needing you don't realize how much how connected you are to
how activated your mind is at all times.
It's like Pavlov's dog. Seriously, it buzzes and you're like, I got to check this. Someone might need me. Someone, and then when we were younger,
we didn't have that. Yeah.
We didn't have that.
Our kids are growing up in that environment, but we weren't so we didn't have to be on or activated at all times.
I didn't have that level of accountability, and my people pleaser personality, right?
You want to get back to somebody right away.
I would hate to make that person leave. I hate, and so that was one of the big things that the H40 has taught me is learning that it's okay to set boundaries for myself.
Yeah.
And that if I put myself first, I know this is hard to believe, but the world's still going to revolve.
Right.
Life's still going to go on, and people will figure it out. And I don't know. It was like, I don't know if I had an ego thing. Like I was afraid, like, oh my gosh, what if I do this and it shows that I'm not needed? What if you know what I mean? Like, cause as a mom, as you know, you define yourself by all these different, you get lost in the definitions of how you serve others.
Yeah, these labels.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so by doing this program, I am coming back to myself in some ways and kind of learning how to, you know, learning who I am outside of the labels.
Right. Well, health is so much, the foundation is mental health. Right. Mental strength. And by grinding nonstop, we live in a culture that prioritizes or glorifies the grind, hustle mentality.
Yeah. I grew up very blue collar. I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that is important when you're working. So if you're working towards a professional objective, you should be grinding. And we define it as, whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing.
Right.
So if you're at work, if you're going to work 6 or 8 hours in a day, don't spend time on your phone. Don't be talking to friends. Don't be focused on that object for 6 to 8 hours. And then when you unplug, when you go golfing, you know, be doing what you're doing. When you're home, when you're on the hammock, you know, reading a book, be committed to what you're doing in that moment. And I think if people lived by just that mentality, just make sure you're doing what you're doing. It sounds so simplistic, but it's just such a powerful way to recenter ourselves and just enjoy the present, not always worry about the future, but actually enjoy the moment, which is technically the only thing we have right now is this moment in front of us. Like you and I talking right now. Yeah,
exactly. And the whole multitasking thing, because the thing
that's a disease. Multitasking is a disease. It's not a skill set. It's a disease.
And it's really like I'm looking for, because I know that you have some other H40 things that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, F40. So we're launching F40, the financial sprint, which we're super excited about.
And then I thought there was another one.
We have R40, which is a relational sprint, which we're working on the content for that.
And I'm looking
too.
forward to those because of the fact that I want to grow, and I want to grow, you know, I mean, I'm going to be 48 soon. Like I'm halfway through this. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, Look great. Yeah.
That's good answer.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I'm halfway through this, and I don't want to keep making the same things that weren't making me happy before for the next 48. I want to make changes, and I want to be the guide, you know, and the example for my students, my children, my family, my you know, future children. I want to be that. And I can't say enough. Like it chokes me up, and like the permission that this gave me, and I didn't realize I needed the permission. I didn't realize I needed it, but the permission to go back to myself, the permission, and to have everybody on that, you know, the school app or whatever. Yeah. And seeing them go through
the community aspect of it, I think, is huge.
And seeing them go through that permission phase, and seeing them like encouraging and truly, like, the other thing I love about that school page is that your gain is my gain. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not jealous that, you know, Susie Q, you know, lost 15 pounds. I'm like, heck yeah, dude, keep going. Yeah, that's awesome. Because when you win, we win. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
And it's like that.
Yeah, the community aspect of it, that doing it together with people is, I think there's no substitute for that.
Right. Now, I would, and one of the things I think about, because I read, you know, on my hammock garden, you know, I read an article about communities, but we don't have these connections, right? Where we're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. We're allowing ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, like, you know, for example, there's no one on your group not called Susie Q, but, you know, like Susie puts on there, oh my gosh, I gained 5 pounds because I did this. She's not going to put that on Facebook. She's not going to put that there. But she's showing herself, and all of us are showing ourselves in our authenticity in that school group. And we are missing that authenticity so much because of how much society has changed in terms of we have to put this best foot forward. We have to put, you know what I mean? We have to be perfect, and we can be human, and that is an amazing freedom that you don't realize you want and need. You know?
I think we're not always like, we have where we're at, and we have this vision, like people call it become the best version of yourself. And I'm going to talk about this in F40. I don't like that language. Right. To me, it's become a better version of yourself, because Because me today, if I have a vision of the best version of myself, that's a destination. And what I've realized over the past 50 years is that life is not a destination. It is, right? It is a journey. And we've heard this before. I don't know if we really believe it, but when we start moving directionally towards our dreams, towards like where we think we want to go, God sort of unveils a new chapter every X amount of time. And so this best version of ourselves is actually different, right, in a few years than what we thought it was today. So I think just a way healthier way to look at it is what we're trying to do is help people become a better version of themselves, better physically and mentally stronger, better relationships. Like you're talking about the relationships. I love that because just the authenticity of a real connection with a human being, that's really what makes us grow. And right, that's sort of the root cause of happiness. Like we think about what Freedomology is becoming, it is health, wealth, and happiness. And what's the key to happiness is relationships with other people, with ourself, our self-image, our self-acceptance, right? Self-awareness, self-improvement, and relationship with creator. So that's, this R40 sprint is going to be awesome. The next one we're launching is F40. So it's a financial sprint.
I'll do that too.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Well,
we're actually starting that internally.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You had a couple things, many things that different things you might want to cut in. One of the things that you were saying is for our family, we named our farm One Day Farm because when my husband and I first got together, that was, like when you're engaged or when you're married and like, you're like, well, one day when we have kids, well, one day when we have a farm, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why it's called One Day Farm. And the other thing is that our motto in our life is enjoy the ride because it is all about the ride. It is not about, like, if you spend so much time head down, you know what I mean?
No, trying to get somewhere.
Right.
You miss the journey. You're focused on the process and not the result. And by the way, I think that's an incredible thing to focus on. If you focus on the process, results will take care of themselves. That's
100% what I feel. And the results, the process is a lifestyle change. I don't need to have a number in order to be successful. I need to have the routine and I need to have it fit into my lifestyle. When the biohacking during the first
like the Lumen device, potentially a few $100. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. My birthday's coming up. I'm going to be asking that for my husband. But, or actually the other things, that Muse device.
The Muse is awesome for meditation.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Or there's this ring thing too.
Or a ring. I have it.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. It's really good.
There's all these different things.
Yep.
And grounding sheets. And I'm like,
Yeah.
You guys didn't focus on, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. You focused on, okay, here are the,
here's the big levers that are going to impact your health.
Like
Here's the big levers.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Here are the biggest things. And with these 6 weeks, each week had one or two really big levers that if you understand, not just like you go to the doctors, right? They say that knowledge is power. But if knowledge is power, then doctors would be the healthiest people in the world. And we know that's not true.
Good point.
So applied knowledge is power. So I think it's like getting past the book knowledge, getting past the scientific explanation of something and connecting the science, the simple science, of how to lose weight, how to feel better mentally, how to improve physically, how to get stronger, and connecting it to like a real world rhythm, like a way that you're going to
it's funny when, I think that what you're making me think of is that it's almost like we've had like this pendulum, right? We're on this side where science is going to answer it all, right?
Yeah.
And then there's this other side where the heart's going to answer it all, but we're so hard on this side.
So that's the art. Right. The art and the science of freedom. And that's
right. And we're so hard right now on the science is going to answer it all that we're not listening to our heart. And what the Freedomology does is it puts us right here.
Right in the middle.
Where we have both.
Right.
And like it doesn't have to make logical sense if it's, the art side is making sense. You know what I mean?
They can connect.
Yes.
They don't have to be on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
It's
that's a great way of putting it.
They can connect together. And, and that's actually the beauty of living an incredible life. That's how you get healthier and physically and mentally stronger, optimize environment to improve our health. Any other questions that you have for me that are specific, like like driving in, like, hey, I want to ask Greg that or this. I think we've had such a good conversation.
Thank you. I always love talking to you. You're great. Yeah. And like I said, the authenticity, I mean, like it just comes through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's yours too. So the ditto 100%.
Yeah. I mean, like you guys had mentioned something about like, I think it was like $99. I don't know. Like you were throwing some stuff out about like, doing some sort of community that you're part of for a year. And I am really excited about that. Like I'm almost like picturing, like, I mean, all of us like the little gold stars we got, you know what I mean?
No, it is going to be. We're going to transition from the school group to our own community. We've sort of been working behind the scenes on developing our own community. I have a technology company. So we're taking some of that expertise and sort of piecing together a mobile app and a web app. And so we're going to launch a community soon. Inside of a month, I would say maybe 4 to 6 weeks. You can be the first customer, right? And so what we've realized is that our sprints are great for people that have made the commitment decision, that have moved from interest to committed. But it's hard for people if like people are first exposed to me on a video online or something. It's like, they're checking you out and they're like, who is this guy? What does he know? And he's not a doctor, but when it comes to health, sometimes I think the greatest advancements come from outsiders in industries.
Absolutely.
If you're in an industry and you're in this, right, you're living in this box, oftentimes you get stuck in this box. And I didn't grow up in this health box. I grew up more in the financial box, and I'm excited to share these ideas. But like the health, it's just simple science behind why things work, why they don't, and then applying them to real life. And I think we've done that successfully in H40. But this community is going to be launched. It's going to be so it's going to have different levels. We're not exactly sure yet, but I'll definitely you can be the first customer for sure.
That's okay.
Yeah, inside of a month or so.
And and I'm thinking like things like like when you were in grade school and like you got the gold star.
Yeah, you got some badges.
Like
Yeah.
We all like badges.
Yeah.
We all like our t-shirts. Do you know?
Yeah, recognition.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and also it might seem silly, but like something to work towards. Like, like if you have a vacation coming up, for example, you're like, okay, I can push through this because I have this break, Yep. Or if like you're saving for something, and like just kind of having almost those little goals along the way. I mean, I loved it. I really liked it. Yeah. And I can't wait for the continued growth because I really feel, like I said, more connected and more in tune with myself because I am learning that it's okay to do something for myself.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
that's awesome. Molly.
Yeah.
I can so good.
Oh, it is. I mean, I swear if I watched that previous interview, the person that came in, because I consider myself to be a, strong-willed person, but that person is not the same person that I am today. You know what I mean? Because the person that I am today has a lot more forgiveness in my heart, not only for myself, but for others. Like, you know what I mean? And the whole idea, like, and that person, the person today is no longer striving for perfection because perfection is not there.
Yeah.
I'm
it's unattainable.
Yeah. I am striving for this peace, this center line, this, the connection between the right and the left, you know what I mean? And am I going to get knocked off my, rocker sometimes? Is it? Yeah, absolutely. But I know it when I feel it. I know when I'm back in the spot, you know what I mean? Like the sweet spot, if you will. You know what I mean? I know when I'm there. And I can't remember the last time I was there before committing to this, you know? And so it was a big, it's been awesome for me. And I really hope that people go in with an open mind, I mean, I know it sounds super earthy and everything that I'm saying, but like, cause I swear the person that would have watched this, like the person that came would be like, okay, yeah, right. Yeah, that happened. Right. It did. And you know what? I'm not here to convince anybody it did. I'm hoping that, the way I'm speaking that they can see it,
Yeah.
So.
So we're going to end with the fist bump, but as soon as we shut the cameras off, I'm going to give you a hug.
Okay.
So thanks for coming out today, Molly. Thanks.
That was great. You did awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. You did awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
Oh, guys. Thank you.
Yes, that was